Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So we're continuing with this book, which is called Concise Narrations to Raise the Next Generation. This is the second class, and we were on week 2, started last week, and the recording is up, inshallah ta'ala. So it says, encouraging good deeds, adhering to the Muslim community, and explaining that its practice of Islam is gradual. It says, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إن الدين يسر ولن يشاد الدين أحد إلا غلبه فسددوا وقاربوا وأبشروا واستعينوا بالغدوة والروحة وشيء من الدلجة. He says, the Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, truly Islam must be implemented gradually. Right? That's a kind of a good translation based on the explanation of this hadith. And no one will implement it hastily except that it will overwhelm him. So what it means is it doesn't mean that you can choose to do the halal and haram bit by bit. That's not what it means. Obviously, you have a convert friend, right? You give them what you can take, right? So there's a lesson that one of my teachers showed me. Is he said, if you give somebody an answer that is too difficult for them, okay, you give somebody an answer that is too difficult for them, you've harmed them. There's no point in telling me something that I cannot possibly do. And if you give somebody an answer that is too easy for them, you've harmed them. Because the deen is like exercise. It's like exercise. If you ask somebody to lift a weight that they cannot lift, you're going to harm them. And I'll give them give an exercise that they can already do and it's super easy, you wasted their time. It's not useful. But rather, you give somebody an answer that they can follow, right? Give something they can actually do. But for oneself, if this is something that is definitely haram and agreed upon haram, you cannot say, well, I'll just take my time. That's not what it means. What the Prophet was talking about is extra when it comes to sunnahs, as we'll see in a second, or something that's debated, right? So you're being very, very strict about something that, there's different of opinion on this issue, so don't be so strict about it and crush yourself. But if something is definitely haram, out the window. If something is a must, this is wajib. You have to pray dhuhr. It's dhuhr time. You got to do it. Okay? And so you have a new Muslim, for example, you tell them, hey, these are the 5 daily prayers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it obligatory for us to pray. What does obligatory mean? It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us and He wants us to do what is good for us. And there are certain things that are essential for us and certain things are better for us. Those things that are essential for us, these are the wajib things. So we have to pray. There is no way out of praying 5 times a day. And if we do not do those essential things for us, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and values us, He becomes angry with us and He threatens us with a hellfire. He threatens you with the hellfire. So this is something we have to do. Right? So if the person then doesn't want to listen, they're like, oh, I'll just see today how I feel. So, okay, but I've told you the message, right? And so it doesn't mean change the deen, but how you talk about it, how you bring it up bit by bit, it's got to benefit. There's no point in telling somebody something that doesn't benefit them, right? What's the point in telling somebody, for example, you're on the shouting at somebody, why did you forget your passport on the way to the airport? There's no point. There's no benefit in that. You just turn around and say, we're turning around. Okay, what do you have to do? I have to get something from the house that's very, very essential. Inshallah, we're going to get the plane. We may not get the plane. That's it. Say what is useful. Right? So, but then it's really talking about sunnahs and something extra. وَلَنْ يُشَادَّ الدِّينَ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا غَلَبَهُ. And nobody goes over the limits in the deen except that it overpowers them. فَسَدِّدُوا وَقَارِبُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالْغَدْوَةِ وَالرَّوْحَةِ وَشَيْءٍ مِنَ الدُّلْجَةِ. So it says, so try your best, aim for what is right, and try your best, and rejoice, and seek help by He's using a metaphor here. بِالْغَدْوَةِ وَالرَّوْحَةِ وَشَيْءٍ مِنْ الضُّلْجَةِ, with the morning and the afternoon and a bit at night, i.e., the analogy to the deen is like a journey. So he says, seek help by traveling a little bit in the morning when it's still cool outside, and a little bit in the afternoon when it's still cool outside, and traveling a little bit at night when it's still cool outside. I do some worship here and do some worship there, but don't go to extremes. Don't go to extremes. Right? I'll give you an example of extremes and something that is debated, right? I'll give an example. There's this lady, she's going through a divorce, right? So obviously it's a time to turn to Allah. Your life is falling apart. What do? Turn to Allah, right? I have another example of that as well. So she's Maliki and her husband's Maliki, and there's no Maliki fiqh classes. So she said, that's it. I repent to Allah. I'm not taking classes in fiqh. May Allah forgive me. I'm going to start studying fiqh. Who's teaching? Farid Dingle. She comes to my class wearing gloves and a niqab. Like, oh, that's interesting. Because her Shafi friend said in the Shafi school, you should wear a niqab and you should wear gloves. I was like, yeah, I guess so. There is some basis for that. And then she's studying fiqh and she's like, okay, if I touch my husband, it breaks my wudu. So therefore, I'm never going to touch my husband and never let my husband touch me because it's going to break my wudu. I'm like, subhanallah. Right? What's wrong here? The sister is going through a major life problem, okay? It's a huge problem. And obviously, she's doing something of the right, but that's not how we deal with it. Is the time to now start being strict on something that is debated between the madhahib, right? If a sister wants to cover her whole face and hands, that's fine. I have nothing wrong with that. Knowing that there's a debate on these issues, and, you know, that's not necessarily going to solve your marriage, right? Being super strict there. And now you've got to come along and study Shafi fiqh on this particular issue, which is going to make even more tension between yourself and your husband. And then you're going to apply it in the wrong way as well, right? Because the Shafis, they say, yeah, it breaks your wudu, but that doesn't mean you can't be affectionate. It doesn't mean you can't be romantic. And it's actually haram not to do that. As a wife, if you're like, hey, don't touch me as a wife, that would be haram, right? For a husband, that's just weird. And for a wife, that's haram. You can't do that. So she's using the deen in the wrong way. Using the deen in the wrong way. Totally wrong. Okay, that's not how you do things. Chill out. Don't worry about it. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, you're studying fiqh. Okay, I need to know these parameters. You say, hey, Sheikh, do all the madhahib say this? Say no. There's actually difference of agreement. Okay, chill. Don't worry too much about it. Try your best, but don't be too strict. Try your best, but don't be too strict. Okay, another example. Brother, his son is a drug addict. He doesn't know what to do. Again, he turns to Allah and he says, oh Allah, I'm sorry for all my sins. Please help my son. My son's a drug addict and it's really, really difficult. So what does he do? He says, I'm going to repent to Allah and I'm going to learn Arabic. And I'm going to learn Arabic grammar. Is there barakah in learning Arabic grammar? Yes, there is. Is that really going to help your son? Right? I understand that, like, okay, I'm going to turn to Allah, but you need to study Arabic grammar, or should you maybe spend more time with the son or correct other haram things in your life? Right? So the deen has to make sense. Now, sometimes we don't have enough information. We don't have enough information to make it make sense. Sometimes we're confused, like, is this halal? Is it haram? Is this halal? Is this haram? You might not know difference of agreement. You might not. That's something else. So sometimes you might be unbalanced because you simply don't know, right? I just said right? In which case you need to learn more. Sometimes it's not your fault. But other times it is. It's kind of crazy. It's like, that doesn't make any sense, right? I'll give you another example. There's this brother contacts me. He says, Sheikh, I want to start a dog filth laundrette company. So what? So yeah, because I live in Norway and dogs often come up to me and other practicing Muslims and they might lick my leg or put their nose against me. And so that's really difficult because now I have to wash it 7 times, 1 time with earth. That's really hard. So what we'll do now is anytime that happens, which is quite frequent, we will have this special dog najasa laundrette company that will charge them a lot of money because Norway is a bit like California. It's a pretty wealthy place. and make money and make solutions for people. And I was like, brother, the deen is not that difficult, right? I used to work with pig and filth every single day. I used to work in a restaurant and I used to wash up. And I used to know that I could see this plate go into this soap thing and then go up to my arms. And every single lunchtime, I used to go and wash it off with earth and water. It wasn't that difficult. I didn't have to send it to a laundrette. And on top of that, I realized way later that there's a strong position that you can use soap instead of earth. So like that's super easy. I live with non-Muslims and they have dogs or they have pork. And of course they wash with soap. And of course they rinse it. It's like, khalas, move on. Right? So number one, before I even knew more, I wasn't applying it in that strange way that you're applying it. And now, even I know more, it'd even be easier. So two things. A, learn. B, the deen is not impossible. When you have a fiqh answer or a situation where it's just an impossibility, that is most likely not the right answer. You need to go back to a scholar or ask another scholar, is this really the case? Like, you've kind of given me a picture that's basically impossible to apply. Like, I couldn't actually function. And so that can't be the case because the deen is not like that. The deen does not have an impossible thing. And then in your extra ibadah, I am trying my best to pray tahajjud. I am trying my best to do every single sunnah. I'm trying my best to do every single dua. I'm trying to memorize the whole Quran. Fine. Do it in a balanced way. Just like exercise, just like anything else. You have to do it in a balanced way. Otherwise, you will break. And that's a not nice thing to do. So that makes sense. And yeah. The next hadith, it says, and Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يسروا ولا تعسروا سكنوا ولا تنفروا. He said in the plural, guys, make things easy for people and don't make things difficult for people. And encourage and not discourage. May Allah forgive us all. Right? It's very difficult to do this in this time because there's a lot of crazy things happening. But anyway, it says يسروا ولا تعسروا. Make things easy and don't make things hard. So what I have seen from my teachers is that when it comes to issues of halal haram, that they give the easy fatwa to others and they give the hard fatwa to themselves. Right? Now, the real thing, as I mentioned before, is to give the appropriate fatwa. Give the easy fatwa to somebody, the person who can take it on. You say, brother, I advise you to do this. Right? If you can do it. But if it's too difficult, give him the easier answer. And encourage people and do not discourage people. And this is a huge thing, right? How often is it at all useful to find fault in somebody else? Most people, 99% of the time, cannot deal with correction or finding fault. The only way you can do them is to correct in an encouraging way. Great job, guys. You did really, really good. Let's work on this, as opposed to, oh, we have a problem. Let's do this, right? And so you have to always be the case. So how useful is it complaining to your husband or complaining to your wife about something or complaining to your kids? 99% of the time it's fairly useless. It doesn't actually work. It's not an effective way of doing things. But rather we should praise, encourage, and direct, right? You're really, really good at this. I really like when you do this, as opposed to, right? That's often the case. And may Allah forgive us for not managing to do this all the time. But it's a major thing, right? And so similarly, telling somebody off for something they're not aware about. And this is confusing because sometimes we honestly don't like some things that seem really obvious to people. How is that not obvious? Right? Then you kind of, so there's a time and a place to raise your voice. There's a time and a place when someone really they are arrogantly doing the wrong thing, right? And there's most of the time is وَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, as Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Harun were told to speak to Fir'aun, speak to him in a nice way, right? In a gentle way. May Allah forgive us all. وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. What's a very important thing here is these are all kids. In Anas, 20-year-old approximately when the Prophet passed away. 13 when the Prophet passes away. 18 when the Prophet passes away. Right? Half the people that attend teaching these things were kids around the time of the Prophet. They're the people who learned from the Prophet ﷺ and told us these lessons. And so, عن ابن عباس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يد الله مع الجماعة, the help or the hand of Allah, the hand of Allah or the help of Allah is with the community. Make sure that what you do and what you believe and the way you live life reflects the majority of Muslims for the majority of Islamic history. So, for example, the Shia, are they majority or minority? Minority. They're not the Jama'ah. Shia means the group, a small group, whereas we're with the collectivity, the community, the Jama'ah. That's why we call ourselves Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the people of Jama'ah, of the group, the vast majority, right? Malikis, Shafi'is, basically every single scholar you ever seen in history is one of the former Dhahib, like with the exception of maybe 1%, 2% here and there. But if you look at your life, is your life, right, like Muslims of the past, from Muslim Spain to China? Yeah, I'm Hanafi. Yeah, I'm Maliki. Yeah, I'm Shafi. Yeah, I'm Hanbali. Your deen, the way you follow your deen is like their deen. Same thing, as opposed to something else. New deen, 21st century deen. Your beliefs are like their beliefs, right? You look at same kind of set of beliefs, for example, these are set of beliefs. So, for example, I have a recording online on my YouTube channel. You can look at it. It's what Muslims believe. So, a list of 13 things. This list is not my list. This is the list of what Muslim scholars have said for about the last 1,000 years. Here's a list that they put together. These are these things. I had some kind of other things here and there to kind of give context, but basically it's a list. I didn't invent that list. That's a list. And right at the end, you can see references. These references are well-known references on Aqidah for the last 1,000 years. Right? So what you believe, what Muslims believe is the same thing. You don't have your own belief. You don't have a new Islam. So always stick to the group. وعن عائشة رضي الله عنها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. That Aisha رضي الله عنها said, whoever introduces something new into this religion of ours, which is baseless, that has no basis in the deen, that's not part of our deen, it will be rejected. It's not part of it. Right? The concept of bid'ah, something, a new type of worship or a new kind of a belief. We don't do these things. We do what the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba did. Okay. Now, sometimes the Sahaba, they did some new things the Prophet ﷺ didn't do. Right? Sometimes they did some new things, but we follow them in those things. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود كما بدأ غريبا فطوبى للغرباء. The Prophet ﷺ said, Islam began strange. Why would you worship only one God? Why would you stop drinking? Why would you do this? Why would you care about people who don't have a noble lineage, their tribe, not from an important tribal member? How would you judge a person based on their righteousness and not on their family name? That's strange. Why would you do that? Right? And then it becomes something strange again. And so it's very important. So glad tidings to be strangers. Very, very important. If you stick to traditional Islam and you do, for example, you live your life based on what the former dhahib say is halal, you will be a weirdo. You will be labeled as someone very, very strange. For example, you say, yeah, brother, sister, I don't go to weddings if they have music there. Like, why? That's weird. Well, the Maliki school says it's haram, and the Shafi school says it's haram, and the Hanafi school says it's haram, and the Hanbali school says it's haram. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, maybe I'll see you next time then. You're weird. That's a strange thing. Most Muslim weddings have music. That's a normal thing. That's normal, right? Most Muslims, for example, don't wear hijab properly. It's normal, right? You see some hair, see some of the neck, see some of the forearm, right? It's normal. Many Muslims might even shake hands with the opposite sex who aren't. That's normal. Not a big deal. But oops, haram according to all authorities on halal haram. Strange. You do something that's different. Right? We look into the past, everybody's praying 20 rakats of Taraweeh. And Taraweeh, Sunnah, of course, Sunnah of Taraweeh, If you're going to pray, it's 20 rak'ahs. That's what everybody's been praying for the last, what, 1,200 years, 1,300 years. Suddenly, 8. Something different. New deen. And so stick to traditional Islam, stick to this, and you will be a weirdo. And فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاء. May good glad tidings to those who are strange. You'll be looked at as strange, odd, like weird. And you're not trying to show off to be strange, not trying to impress people and strange. You say, well, alhamdulillah, one day this will be strange, right? Who gets married before 35? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense, right? That's our Western culture. Whereas in Islam, you get married as soon as you are emotionally intelligent enough to get married. As soon as you're emotionally intelligent enough to get married, you should get married, right? Because every teenager is interested in the opposite sex. Well, at least most of them. It's normal. It's a normal thing to be. So if you're interested in it, then what's the problem? Oh, I don't have the emotional intelligence. Okay, that's a problem. You don't have the emotional intelligence, that's a problem. You're going to harm yourself, you're going to harm somebody else. That makes sense. Great. Otherwise, you should get married. And it doesn't matter if you have the money, and it doesn't matter if you're going to have a big wedding or a small wedding, or you're going to get a nice ring or no ring, or if you're going to live here or there. It doesn't matter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look after the rest. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look after the rest. But the way that we work in our paradigm is, it's all about the show. Of course, my daughter has to become a dentist before she gets married. Of course, my daughter's going to have the biggest wedding. She's going to have a wedding that's bigger than everyone else's wedding. Of course, she's going to have this. Of course, she's going to have that. And then what happens in the meantime is also some haram things happen physically or visually or emotionally, right? And so that's not how humans are. Humans are built to procreate. And so we should facilitate this as much as possible. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in the Quran, mentions it in the Hadith, etc. But it's strange. That'd be really odd, right? If people got married and they didn't have a really nice wedding, didn't have lots of nice cars, and they didn't fulfill normal customary things, right? That's strange. But the deen, right? See how the Prophet got married. Wouldn't it be weird if there was a wedding and people were told, please bring food to the wedding? That'd be strange, right? That's what happened. That's what the Prophet did. That's what the Prophet did. Again, on YouTube, I have a whole class, a whole series of lectures on how to get married in Islam. And we're going to see that. Very, very simple. Sister, can you bring some cheese? We're going to make some pizza. So-and-so, can you bring some pizza dough? So can you bring some tomatoes? We're going to cut them up. Simple thing. No, they didn't even have chairs. They didn't even have chairs to sit on. Right? Simple. Right? Someone's getting married. So everybody bring a pizza from Falafel Corner. Everybody bring some cups from home. Even if it's different colors, doesn't matter. Simple, happy, cheery. That's the deen. But no, we have to do things impossibly difficult because we have to show off, and we're going to take an interest loan for the wedding as well, and we're going to do this for the wedding as well, and then there's no barakah because we're not following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وعن عائشة رضي الله عنها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يا أيها الناس عليكم من الأعمال ما تطيقون فإن الله لا يمل حتى تملوا وإن أحب الأعمال إلى الله ما دوم عليه وإن قل. He said, Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, oh people, perform deeds that you're capable of, i.e. beyond the fard, only do what you can do. Do not kill yourself with tahajjud. Do not kill yourself with extra fast that you cannot do. Don't kill yourself with trying to memorize all of the Quran in one day. Don't kill yourself with trying to do all of the deen in one day. Don't do that. The fard, most important. And this is very, very, very important for women. Okay, very, very important for women specifically. It's important for everybody, but very, very important for women is you need to look after yourself. You need to look after yourself because if you break, everyone's going to break. Right? The woman, the wife, the mother, she's the most important person around. So yes, her husband's number one, but her number one before that is herself. She has to look after herself. So look after yourself. Do what you do need, do whatever self-help you need to survive, because survival is very, very important. Your survival is very, very important. So that's number one. So do what you can do and add only things that you can do on a regular basis. I'll just give you an example. When I was young and as a teenager at school, I read that it's sunnah to pray 8 rak'ahs of duha. So I'm praying 8 rak'ahs of duha. Okay? And I'm praying the full sunnahs. It takes quite a long time. But I could do that when I was a student. And I started working at 19, and I was like, hang on a minute, I have to be at work at whatever this time, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whatever it is. That time when I wake up, that's when I do duha. So it's like, how can I possibly do that on my way to work or at work? Or the first hour of work is always the hardest work. So how am I supposed to do this? What did I do? I cut it down to 2 rak'ahs of the shortest possible. And then I read that the minimum ideal for duha is 4. So then I cut it down to 4 rak'ahs of the minimum. Okay? So cutting it down to something you can do. Don't do what you can't do. Don't do what you can't do. There's no point because you won't be able to do it regularly. Alhamdulillah, if you have some time here and there, do some extra things. But what really counts, just like exercise, there's so many analogies with the deen and exercise. So many analogies. The same thing is do what you can do regularly. Right? قَلِيلٌ قَرَّ خَيْرٌ مِنْ كَثِيرٍ فَرَّ. That little thing that you keep doing on a regular basis is way more important than that big thing you did once. You climb Mount Everest, fantastic. What do you do on a regular basis though? Okay, regularly look at your regular calories, look at your regular exercise. These are the regular thing, your regular sleep. That's what's interesting. Right? Everything else is alhamdulillah great. But or like a relationship, right? You dedicate to somebody or dedicate to Allah. You're there on a regular basis every single day. If you're able to, you're there 5 minutes before Fajr, saying, Ya Allah, please forgive me and please give me tawfiq to do something that you love today. Every single day. As opposed to 5 rak'ahs, 5 hours of tahajjud once every 10 years. Right? That's great. Inshallah, you'll do that. Do a qiyam al-layl in Ramadan once here and there. But what you can do on a regular basis, being very moderate and doing what you can. Because Allah doesn't get tired until you get tired. If that's it, I forget this, I hate everything, don't do it. So do as much as you can as a regular basis and in a moderate way. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال من بطأ به عمله لم يسرع به نسبه. He said, whoever, the Prophet said, he said, whoever is slowed down by their deeds, their family lineage will not speed them up. Doesn't compensate for that. Oh, but I'm part of this. So a very important thing, many people judge themselves based on other things, based on their age, based on their race, based on what other people think about them, based on what other people think about their parents, based on what other people think about their organization. I'm from this organization, therefore I am this. That is not you. Your age, your race, your gender, your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is you. That's what you are. So don't say, well, my dad's a righteous person, therefore I'm a righteous person. Or I'm from this clan, or I'm from this school, or people said this, fine, or I used to be this person. I'm the person that the Sheikh so-and-so said about this. Okay, are you still that person? Right? So you look at your own life, look at your own decisions, and look at the way you prioritize things. That's what speeds you up and slows you down. وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال ذاق طعم الإيمان من رضي بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد رسولا. He said that individual has truly tasted the taste of Iman. What does it mean to feel Iman? Who is pleased with Allah is his Lord. He loves Allah and he loves the way that Allah runs his life. Allah, you're perfect. Thank you. When I stub my toe, it's for my benefit. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, I couldn't have done it a better way. When I get rejected from this college and I don't get in, when I'm tired and I can't do the right thing, I love you, Allah. I love I love your deen. I love your deen that is always within grasps. That you ask me to do something I can do so that I grow, and you're not asking me to do things that I can't do so that I'll get damaged. Right? This is Allah. You love Allah. You love Allah who's been hunting you out. Hunted you out for Iman and hunted you out to be the right person and hunted you out to do these things. He's seeking you, you're not seeking him. Right? This is what it means I'm happy with Allah. I'm really, really, bottom of my heart, I love Allah. I'm really happy with that. Wabil Islami dinan. And I'm happy with Islam. Show me things about deen, I don't have any problems. I don't have any problems with it. I read about somebody, a thief gets a hand cut off. That's pretty hardcore. That's pretty, well, it's pretty rough. Yeah, it's rough for a reason. I can understand that. It makes sense to me. I see the benefit of that. I like it. I'm accepting it. Polygamy. It's not like, don't talk about that with me. No, no, no. I know what it is. I understand it. I'm happy with it. It makes sense. Rights and rules, obligations, this and that. It makes sense to me. I'm happy with it. I'm not like, I just accept it, but I don't really like it. No, no, I'm happy with it. Well, with Muhammadin Rasulullah, I love the Prophet ﷺ, read about the Prophet ﷺ, it's all about his life, about his character, best person in the world. I'm very, very happy. I would not want to have anybody else. And if I find out something is sunnah, that's really what I want to do, right? And it hurts me when I don't do that thing, and I get happy when I do that thing. That's what it means, right? Please stop me if you guys, if you have any questions. I know we're recording, but please, if you have any questions, please stop me at any point, inshallah. وعن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يا أبا سعيد من رضي بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد نبيا وجبت له الجنة. He said, O Abu Sa'id, whoever is pleased with Allah as his Lord, Islam as his religion, and Muhammad as prophet, paradise is guaranteed for him. In the same way that I just mentioned. وعن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ثلاث من كن فيه وجد بهن حلاوة الإيمان من كان الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما وأن يحب المرء لا يحبه إلا لله وأن يكره أن يعود في الكفر بعد أن أنقذه الله منه كما يكره أن يقذف في النار. Said Anas ibn Malik relates to the Prophet ﷺ said three qualities. Whoever possesses them will experience the sweetness of faith. One, whoever Allah and His Messenger is more beloved than anything else in the world. So what does that mean? That means you love Allah more than you love yourself, meaning you love what Allah loves for you more than you love yourself. So therefore, if something is sunnah, you have to do it, and you cannot not do it, because that's what Allah loves, and I'm going to do it, unless there's something else I should be doing, right? It is sunnah to leave a sunnah for a greater sunnah. Right? For example, you want to pray your sunnahs after Maghrib, but everybody's eating food right now. Leave the sunnah for now. Pray it later, inshallah. Just sit down with everybody and eat. That's a more important sunnah. Your dad just came back from work, whatever it is. Okay? That's more important now. Sometimes there's other sunnahs that are more important. Right? There's things like that. Or leaving a sunnah for a wajib. Right? It's sunnah to fast a day, but it will kill you. It's sunnah to fast a day, but your husband's asked you not to fast a day. Right? So leaving the sunnah for something else. Myself, for example, like my wife asked me, she said, you're going to fast these 6 days. I'm like, no. Like, why? I want to play with my kids. So I don't play with my kids. And if I fast, I can't play with them. What's more important, fasting or playing with my kids? So, well, if you've got lots of time, you've got those holidays, great. I mean, just fast some days and play with the kids other days. Otherwise, we don't have the energy to do it. So when I was younger, I could do both, but now I can't. If I'm fasting, I can't play with my kids. And this is more important because they're going to turn around and say, Daddy doesn't like us. And why should we listen to him? Right? So, an example of somebody leaving a sunnah for a greater sunnah or a wajib if you want. So, whoever says they love Allah, they've got to prove it by saying, okay, this is a sunnah. Why did you leave the sunnah? Because I was lazy. Therefore, you don't love Allah. Simple as that. Very simple. Whoever loves someone and does not love them for anything other than reason apart from the sake of Allah, you love that person because you see good in them. You love that person because I'll give you an example. King Julian. Who knows about King Julian in Madagascar? Nobody? Alhamdulillah. Never heard of King Julian. Maybe someone's typing in the chat here. Nobody? Does that mean you haven't watched the cartoon Madagascar? Anybody else speaking here? Let's see. Anybody speaking here? No. Anyway.
Yeah.
You've sister Nas, you've heard of the cartoon Madagascar?
Yes, of course.
Okay, you've heard about him. You know King Julian then.
Yes, the Ali G guy. Yeah.
Funny or not funny?
Yeah, it's funny.
He's funny. I find him hilariously funny. But
Yeah,
that's
I've
very,
seen him.
okay. That's very concerning that I find and that both of us find him very funny. Because is he
Hmm.
actually
Probably not.
right? Ali G is
Yeah,
actually
he's taking the mick out of everyone.
but specifically whom though?
Us.
Muslims, right? So it's good and
Mm.
bad. He's saying Muslims, you're so far from your deen that you just want to be like a gangster from the hood from Compton as opposed to being right. That's who Ali G is, right? He wants to be this gangster and he's trying to be like he's really cool, but he's not. Okay, and then Borat as well, right? Same thing. You Muslims, you're so far from the deen that it's like, where are you, right? It's not really questioning that, but it's laughing at Muslims, right? Specifically. So he's not actually a funny person. He's actually a shaitan. May Allah guide him to Islam, right? The
Yeah.
act and the character of King Julian is actually horrible. He's kind of transgender, totally narcissistic, right? And it's kind of so, but it's just like
Racist. Yeah.
funny, satanically funny, right? And so,
Hmm.
as being British, right, there's certain people that might find, there's certain comedians you might find really, really funny, right? It's like, well,
Yeah.
because it just hits that certain thing that's about you or about me, right? And British as well. But it's not actually funny, not actually noble, not something Allah loves. So that's what it means to love for Allah and to hate for Allah, is that if Allah loves this and it's funny, you'll find it funny. You wouldn't find it funny if it wasn't. Like you'd find it disgusting. So we should be like, I don't even want to watch this. This is stupid. It's not funny. So the fact that I can laugh at King Julian means there's something wrong inside me. This is off. It's off. It's not just, it's not funny. It's off. It's disturbing, right? Um, whereas love for Allah is like, if that's halal and beautiful in Allah's eyes, and it's funny, I'll laugh. Otherwise, I wouldn't laugh. I couldn't laugh at it. It's not funny,
Mm.
right? And so that's what it means to love for Allah, to hate for Allah. Right? You like this person, even though you don't like their accent, you don't like their humor, you don't like their food, you don't like the noise they make, you don't like the way they look, but that you love them because they love Allah and they love His Messenger, and you just feel an affinity with them, right? You feel an affinity with them. You like that kind of person, right? Even if you find it difficult to communicate with them, like, oh my God, like we're so different. But you love that person because they love Allah and His Messenger, as opposed to loving somebody because they have the same food that you have, or the same culture that you have, or then the same kind of whatever it is. So do you love this person for the only for the sake of Allah? This is real things, right? Um, and then and then number three, that whoever hates to return to disbelief after Allah has saved him. This is very, very important when somebody is in a kufr society, right? You're so in a kufr society surrounded by kuffar, and you like their way of life, and you want to mimic their way of life, as long as it's halal. Whereas a real believer is like, I don't even identify with these people anyway. Like their lives are so empty, such a weird thing. There's nothing in them that is impressive to me. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's like it's not even interesting, right? And so being enamored by kufr lifestyle, and I say, well, just give me the halal of it, right? I'd like that handbag if it's halal. I'll have those clothes if it's halal. I'll dress like this person if it's halal in a halal way. That's halal, but it's low. Whereas a believer is like, I don't even who are these people anyway? I don't care. People who live a crazy lifestyle. I don't even want to be like them. I don't identify with them. I don't want to be like them. It's just like empty to me. Like, what is that? Right. Okay. And so that so you don't assuming if you're a convert, like, oh, those good old days, right? Good old days with such people, good old days doing such things. You don't feel like that. It's not good old days, right? You look with regret to those days of like emptiness. What is that, right? And so also a sign of that is you don't want to talk about it. So I was talking, oh, this kuffar, some disbelievers, they do this and this and this. And that. Why are you even telling me? I don't really want to know about it. It's disgusting, right? Like people talking about haram, for you, like somebody talking about diarrhea. It's like, what are you asking me if you're a cure? Or otherwise, why are you telling me this is disgusting? I don't want to know about it, right? So somebody saying, oh, my cousin, they did this and this and this. Oh, there's these kuffar, they do this and this and this. Like, I don't want to know. I'm not interested, right? And that's why the ulama say it's haram to talk about the haram for no reason. It's haram to talk about the haram for no reason. Like you're telling him, oh, this person got drunk. It's like, oh, well, this guy cheated on his wife. Okay, why are you telling me? Just telling you. Interesting. It's not interesting. It's horrible. I don't like it. So part of this hatred of things I don't want it. And this is very, very, very dangerous because where does this happen? It happens when we are absorbed in kufr by television, social media. So if you want to have a heart that doesn't love kufr and doesn't love kufr mentality and loves dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have to surround ourselves with media and people who are like that. But otherwise, we will naturally and obviously laugh at King Julian and things like that. Because it'll be funny because we identify with it. There is a harmony. You only laugh and enjoy and look up to somebody because there is a harmony between you and that person on that particular issue. Right? And may Allah protect us. And make us make good choices about what we're going to watch or what we're not going to watch. And my genuine advice to everybody is try and avoid as an adult, TV out the window, TikTok out the window, YouTube out the window. Not interesting. With little kids, it's hard. It's very, very difficult to take your TV away from your kids totally because they haven't made that decision yet to be on the deen, to do what is right. But for an adult, throw it out the window. You don't need it. So virtues and unique qualities of Allah's Messenger. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أنا سيد الناس يوم القيامة. Abu Hurairah said that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, I will be the master of humanity on the day of rising. Right, so it's part of our belief as Sunni Muslims that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم is the best prophet and the best human being and the best creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ever made. He's greater than all angels, all prophets, all things, besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course. This is the greatest and most beautiful creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever made was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إنما بعثت رحمة. I was only sent as a mercy. I'm only here to make your life better. I'm only here telling you do this and don't do this to make your life better. This is super important for kids. Why are you giving me homework? Well, my mum, she's a teacher. She explained to me, said, Freed, they give you homework because I was like, yeah, explain this to me, please, because it doesn't make any sense. You learn something at this point, okay, and then you need to reinforce it at that point. So then tomorrow it's easier. Again, just like exercising. You have Sister Amina, you still doing training with anybody? Do you still do sports training or exercise training? Maybe she had to step out. Anyway, at one point, Sister Amina, anyway, she was like an exercise trainer or something like that. So imagine you have this one-on-one session, $100, $200 an hour with this professional sports trainer who's going to help you lift weights or do whatever it is, one-on-one. And you have one session a week. Let's say you need to do this, then at home you need to do this, and come back next week. What if you don't do your homework? Not going to work. Okay. Did the person ask you to do things and not do things for their happiness or for your happiness? For your happiness. Same thing. The Prophet ﷺ, he's only here telling us things that we don't like to make our lives better. Because he loves us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us as a means of rahmah for us. He's only there to make our lives better. We're only supposed to pray to make our lives better. Wear hijab. What? Because I hate women and I want to restrict their freedom? No, because it makes you better. Right? Makes you a better person. So having an argument, or not an argument, a discussion, let's say, with my son the other day. And I was saying, you gotta, when you tell mama something at certain times, because you have to look after females' emotions. He's like, that's so annoying. Why on earth do we have to do that? I said, because Mikhail, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you a man, or you are a young man, and one day you're going to have to look after people. That's your job. Your job is to protect and help. He's like, oh, it's so annoying. Why are women better than this? Why is it this? Why is it that? so unfair. It's like, no, it's like that's a noble thing to do, right? Like to look after somebody, don't scare somebody, tell somebody something at the right time so they don't get scared or worried or concerned. That's a noble thing to do. It's like, oh, that's so annoying. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only sent you to do that as a mercy to make your life better, Mikhail. That's it. Pray, fast, do, don't do to make your life better, to make you happier. That's all. If you don't want to be happy, can you harm Allah? No. I'm gonna take my hijab off. Okay, take your hijab off. I'm gonna stop praying. Okay, sure. I'm not gonna be Muslim anymore. Okay, sure. You've just said no to a big gift. That's all. That's all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you something, you don't want it. You can't harm Allah. And so the Prophet ﷺ is only here for your benefit, not for his benefit. Right? Will it hurt the Prophet ﷺ? It'll hurt the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, for the Prophet ﷺ pines for us. Right? And he'll be shown that we did the wrong thing and he'll be like, yeah, Allah, please forgive Farid. Please. But it's no skin off Allah's nose. Doesn't harm Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I want to give you something. Would you like it? And he said, no. Okay. It's up to you. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إنما بعثت لأتمم صالح الأخلاق. And he said, I was only sent to complete virtuous character. What is the point of the deen? Is virtuous, beautiful character. Do things that are nice. So when we see a deen, when we see people praying and fasting and reciting Quran, but they are horrible and nasty and crude and rude and harsh, that means there's no deen. There's no deen. 90% of what we do is not fasting, is not praying, is not this, is being a genuinely nice person. Are you a genuine nice person who cares about other people, who is considerate of other people, who generally at the bottom of your heart wants the other people, right? I'll give you an example. I once pointed out a fault in somebody, and they said, why are you judging me? And I didn't really have an answer. I thought it was a bit strange. I wasn't judging them, and I don't try and judge people. And then I realized later they generally misunderstand how a Muslim views the faults of other people. A Muslim views the faults of other people as a pain in their own body, right? So like saying, for example, imagine if I said to my ear, why are you in pain? Is there anything I can do for you? And my ear said, Farid, stop judging me. So I'm not trying to judge you. I've just noticed you're in pain. So this is how, for example, we correct people. We correct people because we're genuinely, it hurts us that somebody else is doing something wrong. Because you have genuine care and compassion. You see, for example, sister not wearing a hijab, brother's not praying. This sister, for example, she's smoking. The brother's talking to somebody he shouldn't talk to. Whatever it is, they're doing something wrong. It hurts us, right? Your child is picking a scab and it's bleeding. It's like, subhanAllah, please, it hurts me when you do that. So this is character. This is that you care, genuinely deep care and concern for other people, respect for other people, mercy for other people, as opposed to you are the ogre in the house, the horrible person. May Allah forgive us all. And it's very difficult to always have care and compassion because sometimes we're super tired, super stressed. It's hard, right? But may Allah forgive us all and give us that thing, those feelings. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه. We had a question? Okay. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال بعثت بجوامع الكلم. I was sent with comprehensive speech. Speech, when I say something, it includes lots and lots of things. And it's very expressive and very clear. And so the Prophet ﷺ's words are not like Allah's words, the Hadith, not like the Quran, but he's very eloquent and very beautiful in the way he speaks. وعن جندب بن سفيان رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أنا فرطكم على الحوض. He says, I will be your forerunner. I will be the first person there to the pool, the watering pool, the hawd, right? So the ulama, they don't agree exactly when it will be, but many say after the believers successfully cross the bridge over hell, they will reach the pool. And the Prophet will be there waiting for them. He told many of the Sahaba, wait for me there and you'll see me there. Okay? And the people will drink from that pool, and after drinking from that pool, they will never ever be thirsty ever again. Right? So this is one of the special things of the Prophet ﷺ. وعن ثوبان رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إن الله زوى لي الأرض فرأيت مشارقها ومغاربها إن أمتي سيبلغ ملكها ما زوي لي منها. So Thoban, he said the Prophet said, Allah gathered the earth for me. So I saw its east and west. I saw the whole of the world. Right? And the Prophet said in other places as well that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him every single thing there would ever be. So does the Prophet knew that we would have this class today? Yes, the Prophet knew that. He was shown all of the world and everything that will ever happen till Judgment Day. Allah gathered the earth for me until I saw its east and its west. Truly the kingdom of my ummah will reach what was shown to me, that this ummah, right, soon or later will reach the whole of the world. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لو تعلمون ما أعلم لضحكتم قليلا ولبكيتم كثيرا. So the Prophet was not just shown all that's going to happen in this world, he's also shown heaven and hell. Very scary. And the Prophet said, if you knew what I knew, if you seen all these different things, you wouldn't laugh so much, but you would cry a lot. So we should laugh sometimes. But if we weigh our crying with our laughter, and we don't cry, we might cry, for example, when we miss somebody. We might cry when we, for example, when we get hurt. But we don't cry over our sins. We don't cry over the wasted time that we have had. We don't cry over the fact that we don't remember Allah very much, right? Or we don't cry over our own sins. So that's a disease. That means we have heart cancer, right? So the believer should go to a heart doctor and say, listen, I have this problem. This is a real issue, as opposed to, oh, it's not, it's okay, right? But one of the ulama, he said, every single thing has a sign, right? How do you know the computer's on? Well, you can see the screen. How do you know that you should drive? Well, there's a green light. Every single thing has a sign. He says a sign that one is God-forsaken, that one is messed up inside, is that you don't cry. Right? May Allah forgive us all. And so we should, and the Prophet said, if you can't cry, at least fake crying. At least fake it. Right? Not to show off to somebody else, of course, that's haram, but say, Allah, I'm trying. Right? So looking at one's life and say, man, I messed up big time. I messed up there's so many opportunities I've messed up on. So many things that I could have done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every single night was there in tahajjud. And I waiting for me to make dua, and I just slept through Fajr, through that, and I even missed Fajr as well. How many prayers have we missed? How many times have we said things to people we shouldn't have said? Right? Imagine, for example, you said to your kid, the last thing you ever said to the kid was those words, and then they died. Like, subhanAllah, you can never take it back. Right? How much lack of appreciation we have for the people who we live with. Right? May Allah forgive us. So we need to be serious. Right? So perhaps this hadith is not ideal for little kids, right? And they should just focus on thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for adults, people who reach puberty, this is how we should be. عن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال جعلت لي الأرض مسجدا وطهورا. He said, Jabir ibn Abdullah said, the Prophet ﷺ said, the entire earth, lock, stock, and barrel, is my temple, is my place of prayer. So where's your place of prayer? Where's your masjid? Everywhere. You do sujood everywhere. There's no particular place. I need a temple to pray on. No, you pray wherever you want. So this is an ease, and this is a blessing. Right? Notice how currently certain Jews are trying to get rid of Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. They're trying to make their third temple of Solomon, etc. Because they need that particular place to worship. We worship everywhere. Wherever you are, skate park, hospital, workplace, university, you pray. Doesn't matter where you are. And the earth has also been made as a tahura, as a place, as a purification. So if you do not have water, what do? Put your hand in the dust, wipe your face, wipe your arms, and pray. Fantastic. The deen is deen that is easy. Now, it's not 100% clear, but the general picture you get from the Quran and even from the Bible is that the religious life of Christians and Jews in the past is quite difficult. They had to do quite difficult things. For us, it's actually easier. This is a sign of the Ummah. It's very doable, right? Can't do this, then you do this, right? The very dryness of your climate is made as an ease. right? The fact that it's dry and you can't get access to water in certain places, you can just use that instead. You can just use the dryness itself to purify and make wudu, to make tayammum. And this is an important idea, is there two different worlds that we live in, right? For many kids, this is a problem, right? And for adults as well. We live in two different worlds. There's the Muslim world and then the non-Muslim world. Leave the masjid and now we're in non-Muslim world, right? We don't pray in a mall. We don't pray in the car park. Why would you do that? Strange. You pray in a masjid. No. There's no different worlds. One world, which is Allah's world. And one world, halal is halal, haram is haram. Prayer is prayer. Wherever you are, doesn't matter who you're with, it's all the same. وعن أنس وعن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لكل نبي دعوة دعاها لأمته وإني اختبأت دعوتي شفاعة لأمتي يوم القيامة. So Anas ibn Malik, he said, every single prophet has a special dua which he uses for his nation, a special prayer. Truly, I've saved my supplication, my prayer, to intercede for my nation on their judgment day. So the Prophet ﷺ is saving a very, very, very special dua to make for all of us on judgment day when we're about to be thrown in the hellfire because you messed up big time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to equate to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Prophet ﷺ, ask me what you want to ask. Because you didn't have your special dua then, and now you're going to have your special dua on judgment day. And this is the ash-shafa'at al-kubra, the great intercession. Right? So this is the only person who's got you back on judgment day is who? The Prophet ﷺ. Right? It doesn't mention this here, but of the special things of the Prophet ﷺ as well, it's narrated by Bazzar and others, I believe, that the Prophet ﷺ said, every single time someone of my nation does something good, I praise Allah. And every single time somebody of my nation, Farid Dingle, does something wrong, Munira does something wrong, Sister Amina does something wrong, who's your buddy? Who knows about it? The Prophet ﷺ. Prophet ﷺ has shown exactly what you did wrong, and he says, please forgive Farid, please forgive Munira, please forgive Sister Amina, please so-and-so. So he's your buddy. He understands you better than anybody else that's alive. He's closer to you than anybody else of humankind. Right? The only person who's closer to you than him is Allah, his creator himself, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's got your back. He cares more for you than you do for yourself. لقد جاءكم من الله رسول من الله عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. Indeed, a messenger has come to you from Allah. عزيز عليه ما عنتم. Every single thing that afflicts you is very difficult for him. It weighs on him. He understands your pain. حريص عليكم. And he's very, very keen for you. He really, really, really wants you to do what is right. And it really, really hurts him when you do what is wrong. And this is the Prophet ﷺ. He loves us. And he's on your judgment day, he's the only one who's going to care for you. Your mum's not going to care for you. Your dad's not going to care for you. Sayyidina Isa, Sayyidina Ibrahim, and no prophets. The only person who's going to be vouching for you and looking for you is the Prophet ﷺ. He's your number one buddy. عن أنس رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال شفاعتي لأهل الكبائر من أمتي. He says, my special dua that I'm specifically there is for people who do the major sinners, people who do major things on Judgment Day. So we should have great hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us because of the prayer of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من صلى علي واحدة صلى الله عليه أشرا. So I should say أشرا, not أشرا. Whoever it says once, or says Allahumma salli ala Muhammad once, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does it 10 times. Right? And so again, this is something we should engage in, is whenever you have a spare moment, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. As you walk here, as you walk there, as long as you're not going to the bathroom or inside the bathroom, walk around, you have wudu, you don't have wudu, walk around, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Ideally, you should have wudu all the time. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا It says only a true believer sticks on wudu all the time. So ideally, whenever you go to the bathroom, you should make wudu. That's the best thing. But if you can't always do that, always dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a cooling thing for people. It cools and calms people down. It's a great therapy, self-therapy. You're stressed, you're worried. Allah. Breathe. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. There's somebody else who understands you 100%, who sees what that person just said to you or did to you, all of these things, and he's been sent to you as a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? وعن علي رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال البخيل الذي من ذكرت عنده فلم يصلي عليه. He says only a cheap person, the true miser, is he. When I mentioned to him, he does not send blessings on him. So someone says Prophet Muhammad said this, and they're silent. So you say Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Whenever you hear the Prophet's name, say sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وعن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إن لله ملائكة سياحين في الأرض يبلغون من أمتي السلام. It says truly Allah has angels that scan the earth. They go around searching the whole earth, searching for anybody who sends peace on the Prophet ﷺ, and they convey it to me, they send it back to me. Okay? And so you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, and then and what? It goes all the way back to Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ says, Wa alaykum, you say, Assalamu alaykum ya Rasulullah, and he says, Wa alaykum salam ya Farid, specifically, Ya Munira, Ya Nas, Ya Ibrar, Ya Amina, etc. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ responds to you directly. Okay, we'll stop there, inshallah ta'ala. And so next week we'll go on to chapter 4, the virtues of the companions and some of their notable and amazing Sahaba that we should look up to. These should be our heroes, people we should know about, people we should care about being like. سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.